ये दो करेंगे। रोरो शिप्स बेसिकली रोल ऑन रोल ऑफ है, तो इसमें जल्दी हील अप हो जाता है, तो एंटी हीलिंग टैंक्स इसमें आते हैं यहाँ। सीलियंट फीचर इसके एंटी हीलिंग टैंक्स होते हैं, सो दैट लोडिंग के दौरान जो हील हो रहा है उसको करेक्ट हो जाए। इवन अगर विंड स्ट्रॉन्ग है तो उसको करेक्ट कर जाएगा हीलिंग। अब इसमें एक और चीज खासियत है कि जो डेक प्लेटिंग है इसकी काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग डेक्स होते हैं, क्योंकि आपकी लोकलाइज लोडिंग होती है ड्यू टू व्हीकल्स। तो इसमें जो लॉन्जिट्यूडनल्स हैं दे आर वेरी क्लोज एंड द ट्रांसवर्सेस आर वेरी डीप। डीप मतलब ज्यादा थिक है टू टेक द लोड्स। दूसरा इसमें वाइड स्पेसेस होते हैं, सो दैट जो इनके एग्जॉस्ट गैसेस मिक्स ना हो, और यहाँ वेंटिलेटर्स लगे होते हैं। नंबर ऑफ चेंजेस इसमें मोर देन 6 होते हैं व्हीकल फॉर द व्हीकल्स। एंड इसमें नंबर ऑफ ट्रांसफर्स बल्कहेड्स बहुत कम होते हैं, बिकॉज ये ओपन स्पेसेस है फॉर द व्हीकल्स। तो यहाँ पिलर्स आर मोर एंड दे हैव localized tying up supports there for securing your cars or other vehicles like your trucks and all. प्लस ये आपका बैलेंस टैंक है, डीबी टैंक, एंड देन यू हैव अ डक कील आल्सो, प्लस बिल्ज कील होगा, स्टेबलाइजर फिन भी लगा होता है। ऑल दैट इज अ एलियन फीचर ऑफ रोरो वेसल व्हिच यू हैव टू ड्रॉ दिस डायग्राम। ये डायग्राम आपको ड्रॉ करना पड़ेगा। मैंने इसको ड्रॉ किया हुआ है इन MS पेंट, आपको दिखा देता हूँ। तो ये रोरो वेसल मैंने ड्रॉ किया हुआ MS पेंट में। यू हैव दिस longitudinals, your transverse, deck transverse, एंड यहाँ आपके वेंटिलेटर्स हैं, बीच में पिलर लगे हुए हैं, the void spaces, shell plating, anti healing tanks है, these are the various decks, then your bilge keel, bilge plate, keel plate is here, bottom plating यहाँ है, these are all the longitudinals है. So that's the midship section of RORO. जनरल कार्गो आपको कराया था, जनरल कार्गो का भी बनाया हुआ है मैंने, पैटर्न्स एंड ऑल दैट. This is your tank top sealing and bill sealing and all. That's a diagram for general cargo. So we'll come back to the PPT. Now these ships are sensitive to side winds because your exposed area to the windage area is large. And also there are a lot of ventilators on the exposed deck due to SOLAS requirements of changing of air. Plus this can carry stacks of container on upper deck plus vehicles under deck. Your salient features are you have parking spaces for road trailers, semi-trailers, roll trailers. Width of the lane is 2.9 meters. Width of cargo space will there be multiple of 2.9 meters. You have internal ramps. This type of internal ramps for going from one deck to the other. And the slope of internal ramp is between 1:7 to 1:10. Which should be carefully selected in relation to the cargo stored on deck. Width can be between 7 to 12 meters for large ships. Surface जो होगा ramp का anti-skid होगा so that the vehicles won't skid back. यहाँ अगर आप देखोगे anti-skid surface है so that the vehicles might not skid back. Deck configuration जो है, number of decks increased with the ship size. Up to 50,000, 15,000 deadweight, 2 decks are there, but larger vessels, number of decks have increased. Bigger vessels have 3 permanent decks, and in between permanent decks, you can have movable car decks. So the cargo equipment here will be bow doors, bow ramps. This you have already have done in phase 1. Internal doors, hoistable car decks, hoistable car ramps. These are the bow doors. Ramps have inclination about 7 degrees, plus internal doors will be watertight doors for the subdivision of cargo space with minimum interference. Intermediate decks of lights construction that allow storage of cars inside areas for heavy vehicles. These are the movable car decks. You can have either hoistable car decks with integrated lifting device, or can be electrical, or can be hydraulic. If they are not integrated, then there can be lifts by scissors type. Your Corex car decks are stainless steel sandwich panels from McGregor. So that is built up from top and bottom panels. These decks are 1/3 of depth and half weight of conventional steel car decks. You can have cargo lifts, carry vehicles between decks. Wherever you have longitudinal space limited, then you can have lifts, because then you don't have ramps, then you'll have lifts. These configurations will be cargo lifts can be scissors type, telescopic type, or chain driven type for the various decks. And the guidelines for securing these vehicles is for vehicles for either long or short international voyages in unsheltered waters, and road vehicles with unauthorized total mass. Vehicle and cargo will be between 3.5 and 40 tons. You can have road trains, total mass should not be more than 45 tons. The decks of RORO vessels will have securing points for longitudinal spaces less than 2.5 meters, transfer spacing between 2.5 and 3 meters. Minimum strength without permanent deformation of these decks will be 20,000 newtons. For the ventilation system, if your number of passengers are more than 36, then the renewals per hour is 10 renewals per hour of that air in that area. That is wherever the vehicles are stored, that will be 10, more than 10, 10 or greater than 10 renewals per hour. And if it is less than equal to 36, then it will be more than 6 changes per hour. Now, another salient feature of RORO vessel is your decks are uninterrupted by transverse bulkheads. So you don't have much transverse bulkheads, but you have pillars. And deck heights are sufficient to accommodate various types of vehicles. Transverse strength is maintained by deep, closely spaced web frames along with deep beams. Now this you have to write, because you have to describe. कई बार आता है sketch, label and describe. So you have to describe. कई बार आता है sketch, label and write the salient features. So this web frames are fitted every 4th frame and 3 meters apart. Lower deck is divided by watertight bulkheads. They can have hydraulically operated sliding bulkhead doors or movement of vehicles. The deck thickness is increased because here you have localized loading. So the stress here is of localized loading, so the deck thickness is increased to compensate for that. Then there's a reduction in spacing of longitudinals. The size of longitudinals is increased. There's a center line of pillars here because the transverse bulkhead is not there. The ramps are fitted at bow and stern so that your loading and discharging can take place. Movable ramps have advantage of greater loading area. Next feature of RORO vessel is anti-heeling system. So here you have 2 types. We will come to the types of anti-heeling systems. The anti-heeling system detects your heeling angle automatically and then compensates by turning on the other side. So here you can have continuous loading and discharging, not stopping for heel correction. So your turnaround time is saved. Now you have 2 systems. One is pneumatic type and one is water pump type. just come to the diagram, then we'll go on the theory. Now this is the water pump type. So two levels are there. Suppose it heals to the port. Then the water from port is suction is taken and transferred to starboard, so you correct the heel. Similarly, for the other side. Now for the pneumatic type, here you have an inclinometer, and this is port and starboard tank. So pneumatic type, suppose you heel on the port. So the air pressure comes on top of this water and this pressurizes this tank. The water gets transferred to the starboard tank. That is pneumatic. You're not taking suction. You're pushing the water by air pressure and going to the starboard tank. So that is your pneumatic type. So ballast tanks are internally connected to each other by means of pipelines, automatic valves, control systems. When the ship heels to any side, the healing sensor sends signals for change of ship's angle. And this change of healing angle is compensated by auto transferring the water from heel side to the other side that make the ship upright. Then you have level control switches to avoid low level or overfilling or over pressurizing the tank. Here you have two types of healing system. Pneumatic type, as air purging type, a regulating valve is there to force the air on top of the ballast tank. So the air is forced from one tank and purged from the other, making the water rapidly flow from pressurized to purged tank. So here you can be fast in quick time. Water pump type, this type electrical motor is there, which can be reversible or non-reversible, connected by remote control valves that can direct ballast water flow in between tanks. So this will be slower than pneumatic tank. Advantages of anti-healing system that allows your safer, rapid cargo loading and unloading. Your harbor time is shortened and saves port dues, reduces damage to ramp, rolling cargo and containers, ensures safety of vessel and personnel. So this is your RORO vessel. So why clear decks are there? So that the vehicles can move from one place to the other. Various ways of loading, bow ramp and stern ramp. Then also it can be lifts. Why the deck thickness is increased so that localized loading can be compensated. Anti-healing systems, one is pneumatic and one is water type or water pump type. Now we'll do the container vessels, two types. One is cellular type, and then we'll do the hatch coverless type. This is like cellular container vessels where above the hatch you have lashings. Inside the hatch you don't have lashings, but you have cell guides. So container ship is designed for transporting containers inside cargo hold and exposed deck, and it's categorized by your size, container storage, loading, unloading facilities. So here you have big, large intercontinental ships like Ever Given. So you have ultra large container ships over the limits of new Panamax. The length is more than maybe 400. आजकल तो 400 के ऊपर आ गया. Breadth can be about 60 meters अब और ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं. Draft can be 20 meters और बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. तो ये तो MR class लिखा है, Ever Given type का है, which can carry around 20,000 TEUs. Then over Panamax container vessels, which are too large to pass through Panama Canal, breadth can be around 40 meters because Panama Canal जो है 32.5 के ऊपर allow नहीं करता. Cable of stowing about 18 rows. Capacity can be 10,000 to 14,500 TEUs. Then your Panamax container vessels, which are less than 32.25 meters, which can pass through Panama Canal, which can store up to 3,500, and here your holes can go to 11 rows and 8 tiers. Then you got feeder container vessels, which are small and medium size, starting from 200 to 3,000. They basically do feeder service from main port to small areas. So your large container vessels cannot go to that small area. They're not profitable. They can be equipped with cargo gear, therefore it can be multi-purpose. You can carry general cargo also. Then you have categorization with your loading and unloading facility. एक तो आपका container vessel with loading gear है, which can store less than 3,000. इसमें jib cranes होते हैं, twinning of cranes होते हैं इसमें. और एक होता है gearless, gantry, shore gantry cranes उसको discharge करें. The next type is hatch coverless containers or open top container vessels, जिसको हम डिटेल में करेंगे. एंड इसमें आपके हैच कवर नहीं होते, एंड कंटेनर स्टोर्ड ऑन एक्सपोज्ड डेक बाय फिक्सिंग सेल गाइड्स ऑन मेन डेक. एडवांटेज हियर इज हैच कवर नहीं है तो आपके लैशिंग सिस्टम रिड्यूस हो जाते हैं, ओपनिंग क्लोजिंग नहीं होता, आपका डेक का जो वेट है हैच कवर का वो नहीं होता, आपका कॉस्ट कम हो जाती है. We'll come in detail with that. तो जनरल अरेंजमेंट ऑफ कंटेनर शिप्स में ये है कि सेल्फ सस्टेनिंग फीडर वेसल्स में एक्सपोज्ड डेक इज डिवाइडेड इनटू compartments by watertight bulkheads. The compartment located from collision bulkhead till front bulkhead of the engine must specified as the container cargo holds. Superstructure situated above the arc peak. Structure of watertight bulkhead is extended to 4 or 5 frames, giving possibility of installation of installing cranes there. For big post-Panamax container vessel, the structure located above engine room is built was 1/3 length of the ship to improve navigation bridge visibility, so that compartments can be dedicated for the storage of containers in the aft part of the vessel between aft peak and engine room. Now we come to the typical midship section. ये वाला है आपका midship section जो आपको बनाना है डायग्राम. midship section आपका ये बनाया हुआ है, को enlarge करते हैं. तो यहाँ आपका अपर डेक है, टॉर्शन बॉक्स इसके नीचे है, शेयर स्ट्रेक ये वाला, ये पूरा शेयर स्ट्रेक हो जाता है यहाँ तक. सेकंड डेक स्ट्रिंजर प्लेट है, इसके अंदर लॉन्जिट्यूडनल है, तो ये लॉन्जिट्यूडनली फ्रेम्ड है कंटेनर वेसल, सेलर कंटेनर वेसल. एंड अगर आप देखो यहाँ ई ग्रेड स्टील, ई ग्रेड स्टील एंड एच लिखा, ई एच मतलब ई ग्रेड स्टील है और एच इज हाई टेंसाइल. तो ई एंड एच, तो हाई टेंसाइल यहाँ तक गया हुआ है शेयर स्ट्रेक तक, इस तरफ और इस तरफ. एंड यहाँ 35 mm की है और यहाँ बढ़ जाता है बिकॉज स्ट्रेस यहाँ ज़्यादा है. शेयर स्ट्रेक इज मोर थिकर दैन योर अदर स्ट्रेक्स. देखो ये 35 है ई एच ग्रेड. सेकेंड डेक आ गया, साइड शेल आ गया 25 डी ग्रेड आ गया. अब ये ई ग्रेड से कम होकर डी ग्रेड आ गया साइड शेल.
साइड में तो आपके बैलास्ट टैंक होगी ना?
हाँ जी, क्या कह रहे थे आप?
साइड में तो बैलास्ट टैंक होंगे ना?
हाँ, ये बैलास्ट टैंक, ये सारे बैलास्ट टैंक हैं, क्योंकि ये डबल हल है तो ये सारा बैलास्ट टैंक है. तो यहाँ इंस्पेक्शन स्पेस होता है, यहाँ से आप इंस्पेक्शन कर सकते हो इस डेक से, और बाकी तो बैलास्ट होता है. तो अगर आप देखो प्लेटिंग कम होती जा रही है, प्लेटिंग की थिकनेस कम है. ऊपर वाली 35 आपको बताया था न्यूट्रल एक्सिस से जितना दूर है उतना ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस आएगा. तो सबसे ऊपर ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस आ रहा है, 35 mm की है ई एच ग्रेड. उसके बाद देखो 20 और डी ग्रेड आ गया. फिर फोर्थ डेक का देखो 10.5 आए. न्यूट्रल एक्स में सबसे कम थिकनेस प्लेट की होगी, क्योंकि यहाँ कम से सबसे कम स्ट्रेस है. यहाँ देखो 10.5 mm की है, 11.5 फिर बढ़ता जा रहा है, देखो यहाँ से बढ़ रहा है. 12.5, 13, 13, 14, 15। तो न्यूट्रल एक्सिस में सबसे कम थिकनेस है प्लेट की। तो ये आपके स्ट्रिंजर प्लेट्स हैं ये सारे। अब नीचे अगर आप देखो, यहाँ फिर से आपकी थिकनेस बढ़ गई 24E। बिल्ड एरियाज में सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रेसेस आएंगे 24E। फिर आपका बॉटम शेल 24D, ये ई ग्रेड है, फिर ये डी ग्रेड हो गया बॉटम शेल। और यहाँ आपका कील आ गया 27E, 27.5। डक कील आ गया 2020। अब ये आपके कार्गो गाइड्स आ गए। तो कार्गो गाइड्स में स्ट्रेसेस ज्यादा होंगे, इसलिए 15H, 20H, 20E कार्गो गाइड्स में स्ट्रेसेस ज्यादा हैं। यहाँ देखो 12.5, 19, ये सारी इसकी थिकनेस है। टैंक टॉप 16 mm की है। अब ये आपके लॉन्जिट्यूडनल्स आ गए। और ये देखो आपके नंबर ऑफ गर्डर्स अब इसमें बहुत ज्यादा है ना। नंबर ऑफ गर्डर्स जो है नॉर्मल गर्डर से बहुत ज्यादा है कंटेनर वेसल्स में। दे आर बेसिस द विड्थ ऑफ योर कंटेनर। जैसे जैसे कंटेनर ऊपर गिर रहा है, यहाँ इसके ऊपर रख रहा है, उसके नीचे नीचे आपके सेंटर गर्डर लगे हैं। तो नंबर ऑफ सेंटर गर्डर विल डिपेंड ऑन द विड्थ ऑफ योर कंटेनर। 8 फीट का कंटेनर है तो एवरी 8 फीट एक सेंटर गर्डर होगा। इसमें कोई डाउट डायग्राम में? एनी डाउट इन दिस डायग्राम? बना लोगे ना? सेकंड मिनट में भी बनाया था। अब
बना रहा है।
एक्सप्लेनेशन पे आते हैं। हाँ, तो सेकंड मिनट में भी तो आया था, अब भी बनाना पड़ेगा। अब इसमें और है कि आपको एक्सप्लेनेशन भी करना पड़ेगा, इसमें ये फर्क है। तो मिडशिप सेक्शन, you have single deck, double bottom as well as double side shell. The width of your double side shell will be 2 to 2.5 meters to provide sufficient space of passage. Some designs reduce this width to 1 to maximum 1.5 to increase the number of container cells in with existing beam. The resulting narrow side tank can create structural issues. So the space provided by DB is dedicated to the tanks. Arrangement of structural members is mainly influenced by the arrangement of containers, which have fixed dimensions. Frequent framing ship system adopts this kind of ships is longitudinal throughout the midship section. In DB, spacing of the bottom longitudinal side girders matches the spacing of the containers in the hold above. तो आपका जो बताया था, आपके जो कंटेनर्स की विड्थ के हिसाब से नंबर ऑफ गर्डर्स होंगे। So the containers land on or adjacent the girders. The bottom longitudinal side girders and floors form a grillage type of structure that supports cargo hold, container loads, and external hydrostatic forces. Similarly, the web frames and stringers form the grillage to support the ship side between the bulkheads. अभी आपको जरा grillage दिखा दे. I'll show you the grillage here. इस टाइप की आपकी ग्रिलेज होगी. You can see the grillage type here. So that's a box beam, and यहाँ आपका torsion box आएगा. So the torsion stresses. यानी आपके साइड स्ट्रिंजर्स आ रहे हैं, पैसेज वे है इसके नीचे. यहाँ आपका torsion box है, उसके नीचे पैसेज वे, और नंबर ऑफ girders are matching with the width here. तो इस टाइप की आपकी ग्रिलेज बन जाती है वैसे. So you have inner bottom stringer decks here. There is stringer decks and longitudinal deck girder here. That's the box beam. That's the
सर
DB.
ये भी बनाना पड़ेगा?
ना ना ना, ये समझाने के लिए. आपको एक ही बनाना है बेटा, वही बनाना है, ये नहीं बनाना. ये समझाने के लिए सब है, बनाने के लिए नहीं है.
ये मिड सेक्शन में नहीं बनाना ना
घबराओ
सर,
नहीं,
रिलेक्स.
ये नहीं बनाना भाई, ये समझाने के लिए कर रहे हैं.
ओके.
अच्छा,
समझाने के लिए तो डायग्राम चाहिए भाई.
ठीक है ठीक है.
एक ही बनाना है जो आपको बताया था. अब आपके टॉर्शन बॉक्स आएंगे। टॉर्शन बॉक्स बता दें क्या होता है। वैसे टॉर्शन तो आपको कैप्टन सरीन भी बताएंगे, मैं भी बताता हूँ। तो यहाँ है आपके टॉर्शन बॉक्स। ऐसे आप देख नहीं पाओगे क्योंकि पैसेज वे के ऊपर दबा दबा लगेगा। ये टॉर्शन बॉक्स है। तो टॉर्शन आपको पढ़ाया गया था कि जब आपका हेड सी है और आप ऑर्डर करो 45 डिग्रीज, आगे का वेव जो है आपको इस तरफ स्विंग करेगा, आपको ट्विस्ट करेगा, और पीछे का जो पानी है यहाँ जो इकट्ठा हो गया यहाँ, वो आपको वापस उल्टी डायरेक्शन ट्विस्ट करेगा। तो आप इस तरह से ट्विस्ट हो जाओगे। तो आपके टॉर्शन बॉक्स यहाँ से यहाँ कंटिन्यूस जाएगा डेक के नीचे, यहाँ से यहाँ। यहाँ अगर आप देखो ऐसा ऐसा एक स्ट्रक्चरल मेंबर बन जाता है। आपने कोई बॉक्स नहीं लगाया, बट ये स्ट्रिंजर प्लेट, साइड शेल, ये वाला बल्कहेड एंड मेनली डेक, ये सब एक बॉक्स टाइप बना देते हैं। और दिस विल गो फ्रॉम राइट फ्रॉम फॉरवर्ड टू आफ्ट सो दैट यू डोंट ट्विस्ट। इधर में बनता है टॉर्शन बॉक्स ट्विस्टिंग को रोकने के लिए। ये सब आपने पढ़ा था सेकेंड मेट में आपको पढ़ाया था इसे। तो इसमें लार्ज आर्च ओपनिंग्स विच रिड्यूस योर अवेलेबिलिटी विड्थ ऑफ कंटिन्यूस मेन डेक प्लेटिंग और टॉप फ्लैंज। Launch fuel strength is provided by continuous box girder that runs full length of the hatch opening. It is formed by thick plates, which is the deck plate, shear strake, and upper plate of the launch fuel bulkhead and the second deck. ये torsion box form करते हैं. So these are reinforced by flat bar stiffeners. For most modern container vessels, high tensile steel is used for plates as well as stiffeners of launch fuel box girders to reduce your thickness. अब आपको कई बार क्वेश्चन में कुछ और भी आ जाता है. I'll just show you that. How will you compensate for your openings on deck? उसके लिए एक और डायग्राम आपको दिखा देता हूँ कि वो कैसे आपके ये सेकेंड मिनट में करा था ये डायग्राम आपने. ये तो जब आपकी डेक ओपनिंग्स होती है यहाँ, तो यहाँ नीचे गसट प्लेट लगाई होती है जिसमें हैच गर्डर और डीप एंड बीम के नीचे ये वाली जो प्लेट है वो गसट प्लेट है. दैट कंपनसेट्स फॉर ओपनिंग्स ऑन द डेक. प्लस इसके ऊपर एलिप्टिकल हैच कॉर्नर्स लगेंगे. अगर आपके एलिप्टिकल होगा तो इसमें इंसर्ट प्लेट की थिकनेस ज़्यादा नहीं होगी, पतली थिकनेस होगी. अगर ये इसकी रेडियल होगी हैच कॉर्नर ये वाला, तो ये प्लेट की थिकनेस बढ़ जाएगी. ये डायग्राम भी कई बार आप लोगों को आता है अलग से. ये सेकेंड मेड का डायग्राम है लेकिन आप लोगों को आ जाता है. ये नहीं बनाना, ये चार बनाने अगर वो आए तो. ये डायग्राम अलग से आप लोगों को आ जाता है. हाउ विल यू कंपनसेट फॉर द ओपनिंग्स ऑन डेक. ये आप लोग के कोर्स में तो नहीं है, सेकेंड मेड का है, लेकिन आप में पूछ लेते हैं. ये आपका टॉर्शन बॉक्स लगा होता है. अब लॉन्जिट्यूडनल कंटिन्यूस कोमिंग जो है, दिस इज अडॉप्टेड फॉर मल्टी मोस्ट मॉडर्न कंटेनर शिप्स. मेंबर्स विल कंट्रीब्यूट टू लॉन्जिट्यूडनल स्ट्रेंथ. दिस पे रिडक्शन इन मेन डेक थिकनेस हो जाएगा. देन यू विल हैव गुड कंटिन्यूटी एंड वेल राउंडेड कॉर्नर्स व्हिच आर टेपर्ड. पतले हो जाते हैं टू अवॉइड क्रैकिंग. और हाई टेंसाइल स्टील यहाँ यूज होता है. Container ships have 2 or 3 hatch covers spanning across the hatch opening. They have arrangement of 1 or 2 longitudinal hatch girders to support the inboards of the cover. Tops of longitudinal hatch girders are coincided with levels of top combings. ये continuous हो सकता है या non-continuous girders हो सकते हैं. Non-continuous hatch girders जो हैं, they are used to avoid potential cracking problem. Elimination of hatch girders allowed for additional container cell and increase below deck storage. वो कई बार वो hatch girder हटा देते हैं, but that should be in line with your class. Hatch corners ये दिखा देते हैं. What is hatch corner? ये आपके hatch corners हैं. तो पुराने टाइप के hatch corners से ऐसे पतले हो जाते थे. नए टाइप में इसको इतना लंबा एक्सटेंड नहीं करते एडवांस वाले में, सो दैट स्टील का वेट कम हो, वो इधर तक रोक देते हैं. तो आपकी स्ट्रेसेस यहाँ तक नहीं आएंगी. नॉर्मली ये क्या पूरा आगे आ जाती थी, फैल जाती थी, अब इसको यहीं घुमा देते हैं और मेन इस पे आ जाएगा. तो दिस इज द एडवांस टाइप ऑफ हैच कॉर्नर्स. So in case where the longitudinal combing or hatch girders are continuous, a radius should be provided to the hatch corner to reduce high stress concentration. तो टू टाइप के हैं आपके, सर्कुलर एंड एलिप्टिकल with thick insert plate inserted in main section. Inserted plate is 40% or 10% thicker than surrounding main deck. तो अगर आपकी elliptical होगी तो insert plate नहीं होगी, rounded होगी, insert plate होगी. Hatch corner is particularly important to avoid high warping stress coming from the torsion load. तो torsion के कारण, twisting के कारण यहाँ load बहुत आता है hatch corners. इसीलिए ये आपके hatch corners elliptical या radial लगाते हैं. Now transverse bulkhead. So the transverse bulkhead are arranged to suit the storage of containers to support both the DB and site structure. Adequate subdivision of 40 feet containers is commonly used. Each complete cargo hold is divided in two parts by use of pillar bulkhead, so that you can use one 40 feet container or two 20 feet containers. So only transverse bulkhead which is limited, the holes should be watertight. Structure bulkhead is comprised by vertical framework and stringers. ये आपको बताया था, इसकी ये स्ट्रिंजर प्लेट्स हैं, ये वाली जो लगी हैं. Now the increasing size of container vessels is accompanied by using steels of increased plate thickness of 85 to 100 mm. High tensile steel yield of 390 Newton per mm square is adopted in certain structural areas. 100 mm मतलब 10 सेंटीमीटर थिकनेस, काफी बड़ी थिकनेस हो जाती है, 10 सेंटीमीटर थिकनेस. This is chosen to aim to reducing steel weight as well as avoiding thicker plates and associated welding problems. Additional to the deck and combing plates, the plates of the outer bottom as well as bottom longitudinal sides are built also of high tensile steel, where the focus is on the strength against buckling. So high tensile steel इसलिए use किया जाता है, otherwise your plating will be very thick, आपका steel weight बढ़ जाएगा. तो ये आपका cellular container vessels का cargo hold है. These are the cell guides here. That's the hatch cover and the hatch combing here. And these are basically your combing supports. अभी 15 मिनट है. We'll do hatch coverless container vessels.
सर बहुत है आज के लिए.
आज के लिए बहुत है. तो फिर एक वीडियो दिखाएं क्या?
भर्ती भी होनी, तो चलते सर.
ठीक है, स्लो कर देते हैं, स्लो कर देना, वीडियो दिखा देना, वीडियो दिखा दें. हाँ
सर वीडियो फिर कोई और दिखाओ ना.
ना ना पढ़ाई ਦਾ ਦਿਖਾਂਗੇ, ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਥੋੜਾ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦਿਖਾ ਦੇਾਂਗੇ. ਇੱਥੇ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ. ਹਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਸ਼ੂਜਾ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ, ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਦਾ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ.
ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਦਾ ਲਾ ਦੋ ਫਿਰ ਕੋਈ.
तो पढ़ाई का दिखाऊंगा और बखरा थोड़ा दिखाऊंगा.
Hello seafarers, welcome to my YouTube channel Sailor School. In this video, I'll be talking about nothing but large steel construction which are longitudinal beams uniformly spaced one after the other and they are plated over, which means the plates are welded to the series of longitudinal beams which are uniformly laid one after the other. This is done for construction of a ramp. The main purpose of this ramp is to provide a vehicle roadway. All ramps are fitted with anti-skid and steel grips. External ramps like stern ramp, side ramp and bow ramps are used to allow wheeled vehicles to travel between jetty and inside RORO ship. So ramps are basically of two types. One is the external ramp and another is the internal ramps. Under external ramps, we have stern ramp, side ramp, bow ramp, and quarter ramp. Please note that ramps also serve as watertight door when it is folded in its closed position. Ramps are operated by a twin hydraulic cylinder action or by winch arrangements in which wire ropes are used. Now I will be talking about two special type of ramps which are located at the stern part of the ship. These ramps are common nowadays. They are stern quarter ramp and slewing ramp. Stern quarter ramp is an angled ramp which is offsetted by an angle of 30° to 45° from the center line of the ship. Means the ramp is positioned in such a way that from the center line of the ship it is offsetted by 30 to 45°. That is a fixed position of the stern quarter ramp. When we talk about sleeving ramp is a stern ramp that can be set to an appropriate angle about 40° from the center line on either side. So sleeving ramp can be positioned on either side, either on the port side or on the starboard side. The advantage of sleeving ramp is that ship can be moved to jetty at any side. So this will not disturb the loading discharging operation. Now we shall move on to internal ramps. Internal ramps are of two types, fixed or movable internal ramps. The main purpose of internal ramps is to provide access from deck to deck for distribution of cars. On a RORO ship, they can be typically from 8 to 15 decks. So the purpose of internal ramp is to provide access to all these decks, which will help in distribution of cars, trailers inside the ship. Internal ramps are operated with the help of hydraulic power. Some internal ramps are fixed in their position, whereas the movable internal ramps are operated with the help of hydraulic power. Just like stern quarter ramp or sleeving ramp, there is a typical internal ramp, which is known as tilt-table ramp. Tilt-table ramp is a single section internal ramp. It is provided with flaps, and this ramp has hinges on its both sides. In this diagram, you can notice there are two hinges. When the ramp is in closed position, then it acts as a complete deck. This ramp can be opened either on this side or the other side. Either of the hinges can be secured and the other side of the ramps can be lowered to the deck. The raising and lowering of this ramp is done by wire winch system. Now let me explain about care and maintenance of ramps. Most of the vessels will have OMM, which is onboard operations and maintenance manual, or commonly it is known as PMS manual in some of the ships. In this manual, there is procedures for all operation of critical equipments. When I'm talking about RORO, the operation of ramps or bow visor is explained in this manual. This OMM manual also explains the procedures for care and maintenance of ramps. In a ramp, we must check the seals or sealing arrangement and do the chalk test monthly in order to check its weather tight integrity. The locking cleats, pins, hinges, wire ropes, and all other moving parts must be inspected and greased frequently. Any salt deposits on the ramp or on the cleats must be cleaned to prevent it from getting rusted. The hydraulic piping and the flexible hoses must be inspected for any leakage or deterioration. All hydraulic hoses must be safe and secure from chafing, and they must be inspected prior operating the ramp. In ramps, there will be some sensors, limit switches, and proximity switches. All these must be inspected for their operation in regular intervals. The drainage system between the bow door and the collision bulkhead must be inspected and it must be free of any debris. The indicators for ramps opened or closed position and the level alarms on bridge must be tested. In this video, you can observe the stern ramp is in two parts and it is hinged in between and it is folded inwards with the help of winches, wires, and when you closely observe in this video, the hydraulic jacks present on the ramp which are pushing the ramp as well as the wire ropes help in unfolding the ramp into one single straight piece and then it is laid on the jetty. When any external ramp is in its closed position, you can observe the cleats which are hydraulically powered, means there are some hydraulic locks which helps in locking the ramp so that to provide watertight integrity to the ship. And you can observe the pockets for cleats to be attached in this video. So now I will be telling about the oral questions which are usually asked regarding the RORO ships. The first one is what to do if the jetty is more far from the ramp or at a height which is above the accessible level of the ramp. This is one of the question which is asked by MMD surveyor. The answer for this question is when the RORO vessels are made fast to the shore or to the berth which has considerable height differences. So with considerable height differences obviously require longer ramps. So in order to avoid stowage problems of these long ramps, foldable stern ramps are used. Foldable stern ramps or doors are nothing but one single ramp is divided into two sections which are made fast together with the help of hinges and they are provided with outer and inner flaps which allows smooth transition of vehicles. Outer or inner flaps are nothing but some small steel covers which are laid on the exact point of hinges so that when the vehicles pass over this, the hinges or any grease present on the hinges will not affect the vehicle. About this, I have marked in the video which was shown earlier. Okay, question number 2. How is the watertight integrity maintained with such large openings? Means on RORO ships, when the ramp is opened or bow door is opened, it is a very large opening. In such case, how come the watertight integrity of the RORO vessel is maintained? This is the question. So answer for this question is when any ramp or door is in its closed position, the inner section of the ramp acts as an watertight door because this door is secured by hydraulically operated cleats and locking devices. Normally, they have two hydraulic side locks, two manual side locks, and a bottom lock, which is also known as Atlantic lock. The watertight integrity in such large rams or doors is achieved with the help of hydraulic pressure cleating in addition with hard rubber seals and hinge arrangements which are positioned above the waterline. Means when the hydraulic pressure cleating pulls the ram closer, the hard rubber seals which acts like a cushion, so this helps in watertight integrity. The similar can be noted in hatch covers in bulk carriers. Question number 3. What is bow visor in RORO ships and why the bow visor is rare or has become extinct to find in present day RORO ships? The answer for this question is bow rams are used on RORO ships and ferries to unload vehicles, and bow rams helps in permitting drive-through capability inside the ship. Bow ramp is nothing but a axial ramp which links ship to the jetty through a bow opening. This bow opening is a visor or a side hinged bow door. Visor means it lifts in upper direction. Side hinged bow door means it is a door which is locked in center. It just opens like a normal door horizontally. On seagoing vessels, there are inner bow doors or collision bulkhead doors behind the loading ramp. These doors act as a secondary barrier against the water entering the car deck. In this video, you can see the visor is lifted up and the bow ramp, which is folded into two parts, is extended. By unfolding it slowly. Again, it is secured inside the ship. So now in this second video, this is some vessel of Stena company. In this you can observe what I meant by side hinged bow door. In this video you can observe the door is opened on both the sides, and you can also observe the hydraulic locking system or hydraulic cleats in these doors clearly. And as soon as the door opens, the ramp, which is folded into two parts, acts like a secondary barrier and prevents water from entering car deck. And you can see the ramp is lowered with the help of wire winch mechanism. And once the ramp is lowered, you can see the secondary barrier or inner border. This border acts like a secondary barrier and prevents water from entering the car deck. So this inner border must also be opened. Then only it is possible for the vehicles to be unloaded or loaded through the bow door. So question number 4. At what angle must the ramps be secured to the quay or be placed on the quay? This question means nothing but the angle made by the ramp when it is in contact with the jetty. What is the minimum angle requirement for this ramp? The answer for question number 4 is the minimum slope angle required for the shore ramp or the internal ramps between decks must be kept below 8 to 9 degrees. Means anything lesser than 8 degrees is good for loading and unloading of RORO cargo. Okay, next topic is the requirements for classification society in case of ramps. In this topic,